important question than any of those is, are you a Christian? Could be that you're among the many who are self-deceived. You're not alone. I am convinced that in the name of Christianity, there are many places that call themselves churches, and they're not churches. And they have men leading them who call themselves pastors, and they're not pastors. And they have congregations who call themselves Christians, and they are not Christians. They're not churches, they're not pastors, and they're not Christians. And yet they proudly post the label Christian. Now, we learned in our message last time from verses 13 and 14 that there are only two possible options. There is a narrow gate that goes to heaven, and there is a broad road that says heaven but goes to hell. The narrow gate is hard to find and hard to go through because it demands denial of self, denial of self-righteousness, recognition of sin, full repentance, submission to Christ, commitment to obey Him and follow Him no matter what the cost. It's hard to find that truth, and hearing it, it's hard to act upon it because of the love of self and the love of sin, which is natural to the sinner. The true way to heaven is hard to find. It is away from the crowd. It is narrow. You come naked. You come alone. You come penitent. You strive to enter. At the same time, most religious people are on the broad road, and there are plenty of false prophets who are enabling them. They are discussed, by the way, in verses 15 to 20. The false prophets, the false religious leaders, the false representatives of Christ, false agents of God, who really are the agents of Satan. They are ministers of Satan disguised as angels of light, leading people on a road that says heaven but ends up in hell. For all the years of my ministry, there has been nothing that has come to the level of my concern for this issue. Of course, it's a tragedy for Hindus to go to hell, or Buddhists, or Muslims. It's a tragedy for atheists and Jews who reject the Messiah to go to hell. It's a tragedy for anybody to go to hell. But it seems to me that the tragedy of all tragedies is the oft-repeated Judas tragedy, where you hang around Jesus but end up belonging to Satan. That's the real tragedy. There are pastors who fit into this category. They're not even Christians. And churches are filled with people. Some quote-unquote churches are made up almost all of non-Christians who are deceived about their true spiritual condition. And so it's important for us to hear the words of the Lord. If I'm concerned about this issue, believe me, He's far more concerned about it as well. And when the Lord said these words, He was not speaking to irreligious people. He was speaking to fastidiously religious people. He was speaking to people who were religious to the max, I suppose we could say. They were obsessed with religion. In fact, they couldn't divorce their social life, their civil life, their economic life, their family life, their national life from their religion. It permeated everything in Israel. These are the most religious people. These people are as religious as you can get. But they have no relationship to God and no relationship to Christ. They are religious but lost. They are on the wrong road. To borrow the words of Paul, they have a form of godliness without the reality of it. They are self-deceived. We have that today, as I said. It is everywhere.